Sorry about that. I actually had started and it said that you guys had joined and it was on a different Zoom. So apparently there's different links going out. Hopefully everybody was able to get to the right one. But welcome guys. I just wanted to Hi Brian.
Hey, Jordan.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well.
Good.
Yeah, I was rocking and rolling and it was like my phone's dinging that people are joining the webinar and I wasn't seeing them on what I was recording. So here we are. Time to good time to restart. All right. So I just wanted to start off first with a word of prayer. Dear God, just pray, Lord, that you use my words to speak to everybody that is listening to this, anybody that has desired to listen to the recordings, or even the people that decided that, this wasn't for them. Just help them know that they are walking with, if they are walking with you, that they're in the right place and that you will give me the words that the people need to hear. And even if it's not the words that I say, but it's different words, Lord, just pray that those are the words that these people hear. Amen. All right. So I want to welcome you to the 3-day target challenge. It is all about keeping life simple, being able to simplify our lives because there's lots of distractions out there. And I have found that the more distracted we are, the less likely we are to reach the goals and the targets that we have. So, my promise to you at the end of these 3 days is that you will have a framework to create targets from here on out that will help you simplify your life and reach areas and standards that you may never thought possible. I hope you brought a journal. Uh, I always like to journal things out, actually writing them down rather than, putting them in our phones or typing them out. When you are spelling out the words, it's almost like you're creating a spell. You are helping your neurology and from your pen or your pencil and the paper into your brain, reading those words. It's helping you really layer those things down to be able to help you get the best results possible. So, just a little bit of groundwork is the 3 days right now are focused on the awareness, aim, and action ways of creating targets. I don't like a lot of fluff. I usually am skipping through these types of Zooms myself just because it seems like there's lots of stories, lots of things, and we're not really getting down to how it's actually done. So I'm going to try to avoid that as much as possible and uh, really get some groundwork laid and be able to get people the stuff that's needed in order to get these targets set up. Um, and I look at the targets in 4 different areas of our lives. It's faith, family, fitness, and finance. And I put them in that order because those are the most important order for me. Your faith with your walk with your creator then leads to how your relationships with your family, those next most important to you, will lead. And then whenever those are well, then you're able to really focus on yourself and their fitness level and figuring out the things that you need to do in order to do that last part of finances. Because if we're sick, if we're unhealthy, then what's really the point of creating a bunch of money if we're just going to be spending and wasting all that money again, trying to get our health back, trying to get those relationships back? So I put finances at the bottom. For a lot of people, I feel like a lot of that's reversed, where they are really focusing on finances first. If that's the way people want to do it, that's fine. But I have found in my own life that when I get the other pieces in order, then the finances are soon to follow. And this whole process, and even in all 4 areas, may take 2 hours total. Um, it's much better and easier on my mind whenever I figured this out than the, goal setting weekends where you lock yourself in a hotel room for 2 days and all you do is eat, pray, love, and you hope that you have goals at the end of it. And I just try to get in, get out, kind of like chiropractic, you fix the issue and then you get out and let the healing occur. And so today we're going to focus on the awareness side of things. Um, and first, we want to forget the future, forget our plans for the future, anything that we want. And we really want to figure out where we are now. It's kind of like if we are taking a road trip somewhere and you have to have that starting point in your GPS for it to figure out where you're going. You could be uh, I always like the boat analogy where you say you're trying to travel from New York City over to somewhere in England. I don't know which connect, but try to set a straight line. And if you don't know where exactly you are, then you are going to be totally off course. You could be like Columbus and you think you hit a new continent, and it is a new continent, but it's not the right one. So we definitely want to make sure that where what's going on is where we are right at this present moment. So you want to sit down, figure out, okay, take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, and just think, okay, where are my, let's just start with faith. How is my walk with God? Am I able to get up in the morning, have a little bit of quiet time? Or do I just hit the floor running and I kind of use God as an afterthought? Maybe if I'm in the shower for a second, I'll send up a couple of prayers. Um, are we, again, sticking with the faith side of things, are we kind of just doing an afterthought, or is it kind of like, you know what, things are doing all right and we're kind of heading in the right direction? We're not necessarily where we want to be, but we're doing that quiet time, we're reading our Bibles, we're really trying to draw near to God and listen to his voice. Or are we letting technology and distractions really get in the way of that? Again, it's not going to take a long time, but writing that out allows us to see where we are, to be able to get that present moment, to be able to move forward later on. Um, and the next thing after we do that is then where do we want to go? And the where do we want to go is more of the what standards do we want for our lives? So figure out the end goal. What is it that we want? How is it that we want to live? So for faith, it could be, I want to make sure that I'm at church every week, that I have 15 minutes of quiet time every morning. And before I go to bed, I want another 15 to 20 minutes to be able to regroup at the end of the day. Um, for fitness, it could be, well, uh, I want to be able to work out 3 days a week. I want to stop eating junk food, and I want it so that whenever I have a challenge that happens, if someone says, "Hey, do you wanna go do a 5K?" I'm able to do that at a drop of a hat. It's where is that level that you wanna be ultimately? And again, this is the fun part where you get to sit down and you get to write that out. Again, take 2 to 5 minutes. It doesn't take a long time for us to be able to just write out that vision for our lives, because that is going to help us set the standard for where we want to be able to set the targets that are necessary for us to be able to finally get to that point. So you're kind of just doing a self-portrait now of where you are, and then writing a self-portrait of where you want to be. And then this is kind of a still picture that you're going to be able to look back on as we move forward, to be able to say, look at where you started. And as that GPS is taking us closer and closer to our end goal, look at how far you've come and where you are now. Um, and so, like I said, figure out where you want to be that standard at then in the next 5, 10, 20 years, because these targets that we set are going to help us reach that standard later on in life. So we want to figure out what that smells like, what that feels like, what that tastes like. For fitness, I want to have a personal chef that makes delicious food for me, that I'm able to have them come in twice a week and make 5 meals that I can heat up on my own, or just like different things that you can go and go wild on, and you're creating this whole thing. Because I have I have found that it's all about creation. We are human beings, and we are followers of Christ or God, and He is the ultimate creator, and we are then similar to Him, and we are also creating. So it's not a long drawn out process, but create those things that uh, those ultimate um, things that you're going to want to be, and the things you want to do as things move forward. And I like to look back at the first principle that the Bible talks about, even back in the Garden of Eden, right after he created Adam and Eve. And it was be fruitful, fill the earth and subdue it, and then the blessings will follow you. So it's the be, do, have principle that a lot of us in chiropractic know about. And this first part is all about the be. It's a lot different than fake it till you make it or the act as if the act as if side of things, because if we're truly present, then we're truly already who we want to be. We know that there is no future, there is no past, there is just right now. So if you want to be that person 30 years from now, well, you already are that person. We just have to start making those decisions and those changes as we go forward. So that's really all it is the awareness portion. It's really super simple, is figuring out where you are now and that standard that you want to live as time goes on. And then tomorrow again, we'll go into aim. And then the third day, we'll go into the action steps to move forward. But it really comes down to faith, figuring out where you want to go. And then one thing do like to say is don't put uh, timelines, don't put a time factor into it, because we don't want to hinder what is possible. It's kind of like you you've all heard the story where it's like, well, you have to raise $100,000 or else the family member dies. Well, how fast can you raise that $100,000? Like, we don't want to put a time limit on that. There's so many different ways for money to come in, for people to lose weight. Like, say, you have to lose 40 pounds in the next 2 days, or something bad's going to happen. Well, you can cut a leg off and all of a sudden you've lost 20 pounds, 40 pounds. Like, there's so many different ways that things can happen that that time factor really starts to hinder things whenever we start putting time factors on it. So go figure out where you are today, figure out where you want to be, and then we'll regroup again tomorrow. Have any questions? Anybody want us to add? No? All right. We'll see you guys. Thank you.